The Cost of Envy. In a small town surrounded by green hills lived a couple, Arjun and Mira. They were a simple, happy couple who loved each other deeply. Arjun worked as an engineer in a local factory, while Mira managed their small home with love and care. Their life was simple, but they were content with what they had. They spent their evenings talking, laughing, and sharing stories, enjoying each other's company. Their happiness was pure, and they found joy in the little things. Arjun adored Mira and did everything he could to make her happy. Mira, in turn, appreciated Arjun's hard work and dedication. Their bond was strong, and they were each other's best friends. One day, a new family moved into the big house next door. The Singhs were rich and lived a luxurious life. Mrs. Singh, in particular, was known for her fancy clothes and expensive jewelry. Her house was filled with beautiful furniture, and she often hosted grand parties. The difference between the Singhs' lifestyle and Arjun and Mira's simple life was stark. Mira, curious about her new neighbors, visited the Singhs. She was warmly welcomed, and Mrs. Singh showed her around the house. Mira was amazed by the luxury. The sparkling chandeliers, the beautiful furniture, and the grand decorations left her in awe. Mrs. Singh, noticing Mira's amazement, proudly showed off her designer clothes and jewelry, planting seeds of envy in Mira's heart. That evening, Mira returned home with a heavy heart. As she cooked dinner, she couldn't stop thinking about the luxury she had seen. The comparison between her modest home and the Singh's grand house made her feel unhappy for the first time. She began to feel dissatisfied with her own life, something she had never felt before. Over the next few weeks, Mira's discontent grew. She started to resent their simple house, her plain clothes, and the lack of luxury items that Mrs. Singh had. She began to argue with Arjun, demanding that he buy her new clothes and jewelry and expressing her desire for a more lavish lifestyle. "Arjun, why can't we have nice things like the Singhs? I want to wear beautiful clothes and jewelry. I want to live in a grand house and have people envy us," she said one evening, frustration evident in her voice. Arjun was surprised. "Mira, we've always been happy with what we have. We don't need material things to be content." But Mira was relentless. The arguments became frequent, and Arjun, unable to bear seeing his beloved wife so unhappy, decided to fulfill her wishes, even if it meant stretching their finances. He took out a loan and bought Mira some new clothes and jewelry. For a while, Mira was thrilled. She wore her new possessions with pride, and her envy seemed to subside. But soon, the initial excitement wore off, and she found herself wanting more. Mrs. Singh noticed Mira's new acquisitions and, in her cunning way, praised her. But she also mentioned that such things were just the beginning. "True luxury," she said, "is in the finer things: imported cars, designer bags, exclusive memberships." Mira's desires began to escalate. She pressured Arjun to buy more expensive items, pushing him further into debt. Arjun, loving Mira deeply, did everything he could to meet her demands, but it took a toll on him. He took on extra work, barely slept, and was constantly worried about their finances. In the midst of this, Mr. Singh started paying undue attention to Mira. He complimented her often, inviting her to their lavish parties and showering her with flattery. Mira, flattered by the attention and blinded by her envy, started to spend more time with the Singhs, neglecting her own home and husband. Arjun noticed the change. He saw how Mira's interactions with Mr. Singh became more frequent and how she seemed more distant. He tried to talk to her, to remind her of their love and the life they had built together, but Mira was too caught up in her newfound desires to listen. One evening, after a particularly heated argument about money, Meera stormed out of the house and went to the Singhs. Mr. Singh, sensing an opportunity, took advantage of the situation. He comforted Meera, playing on her vulnerabilities, and eventually proposed to her, suggesting that he could give her the life she dreamed of. Meera, in a moment of weakness and blinded by the allure of wealth, agreed. She decided to leave Arjun, believing that a life with Mr. Singh would bring her the happiness she craved. The news devastated Arjun. He couldn't believe that the woman he loved so deeply, the woman with whom he had shared so many beautiful moments, had chosen wealth over their relationship. Heartbroken, he let Meera go, hoping that one day she would realize the true value of what they had. Meera moved into the Singh's mansion, initially thrilled by the luxury surrounding her. But soon she began to see the cracks. Mr. Singh's attention waned, and she realized that his interest in her was fleeting. Mrs. Singh, though initially welcoming, became cold and distant. Meera felt like an outsider in the grand house, surrounded by opulence but devoid of genuine love and warmth. Days turned into weeks, and Meera's longing for her old life grew. She missed Arjun's kindness, their heartfelt conversations, and the simple joys they shared. She realized that the material possessions she had envied brought her no real happiness. The love and bond she had with Arjun were irreplaceable. One rainy evening, Meera stood by the window of the grand mansion, looking out at the small cottage she once called home. Tears streamed down her face as she remembered the love and warmth that filled that modest house. She knew she had made a grave mistake. Gathering her courage, Meera decided to return to Arjun. She walked through the rain, her heart pounding with fear and hope. When she reached the cottage, she found Arjun sitting on the porch, looking weary and lost in thought. "Arjun," she called out softly. Arjun looked up, surprised to see Meera standing there, drenched and tearful. He stood up, a mix of emotions crossing his face. "Meera, why are you here?" he asked, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Arjun. I was blinded by envy and greed. I thought wealth would bring me happiness, but I was wrong. I miss you, and I miss our life together. Please forgive me," Meera pleaded. Arjun looked at her for a long moment, his heart aching with the pain of betrayal but also filled with the love he still held for her. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, wrapping his arms around her. "I forgive you, Meera. Let's rebuild our life together with love and trust," he said softly. Meera clung to him, sobbing with relief. She realized that true happiness lay not in material possessions, but in the love and bond they shared. Together, Arjun and Meera started anew. They faced challenges, but with love and mutual respect, they overcame them. Meera learned to appreciate the simple joys of life and never again let envy cloud her heart. Their bond grew stronger, and they found that the greatest wealth was in the love they shared. They worked hard to pay off the debts and slowly regained their financial stability. Arjun continued his work as an engineer, and Meera took on part-time jobs to contribute. They learned the value of teamwork and supporting each other through thick and thin. The town noticed the change in Meera. She was no longer the woman who envied others. She became someone who radiated warmth and kindness. She and Arjun often invited their neighbors over for simple, heartfelt gatherings, where laughter and love flowed freely. Years passed, and the couple grew old together, their love only deepening with time. They became an inspiration to others in the town, showing that true wealth lies in the relationships we nurture and the love we share. In their twilight years, Arjun and Meera would sit on their porch, holding hands and reminiscing about their journey. They had faced storms, but their love had always been their anchor. They had learned that envy and greed could never bring true happiness, only the genuine connection they had with each other. As they watched the sunset, Mira would often say, "Arjun, thank you for loving me through it all. I am grateful for every moment with you." And Arjun would reply, "Mira, my love for you has always been my greatest treasure." And so they lived out their days in peace and contentment, their hearts forever entwined, their love a beacon of hope and joy for all who knew them. Moral: true happiness is found in the love we cultivate and cherish, not in the material possessions we acquire.